You're watching RTE 1.
Good afternoon, welcome to the 1 o'clock news. The headlines this lunchtime. A 4-hour strike by Aer Lingus clerical workers causes long delays for passengers. Gardaí investigates suspicious death of a woman whose body was found in Cork suburb. And report on Abilara siege contains criticism by FBI of some of the tactics used by Gardaí. A 4-hour strike by clerical workers is underway at Aer Lingus and has been causing long delays for thousands of passengers. Many flights have been cancelled. The stoppage by clerical workers is due to end at 2 o'clock. However, the workers are planning a 24-hour strike next Friday, while catering workers intend to strike for 24 hours next Thursday.
At 10 o'clock this morning, around 500 clerical workers walked away from their desks. They held a short rally at the Aer Lingus Club, and then it was time to head back to the airport, but they weren't going back to work. The clerical workers are protesting that their rates of pay are too low. They say their starting rate is £4.75 per hour, or less than £10,000 a year. And they say their action will continue until Aer Lingus management address the issue.
A company can come to the negotiating table with a proper proposal that removes the threat of industrial action. That's the only way this can be resolved, the company facing up to its responsibilities.
There was some support for the workers, even from passengers who are delayed, but inside the airport, queues are beginning to build up.
It's very inconvenient because all we were doing was going for a long weekend from Friday to Monday, and a day effectively has gone out of the whole trip. So that's pretty annoying, yes.
Aer Lingus say their contingency plans are working, and 85% of passengers supposed to travel today will get away. Clerical staff will maintain token pickets at the entrances to the airport for about another hour. After that, things are expected to start getting back to normal for the moment. But there's much worse to come for Aer Lingus passengers. Catering staff will begin a 24-hour work stoppage from 6 a.m. next Thursday. And the following day, clerical staff will stop work again, this time for 24 hours. Orla O'Donnell, RTE News at Dublin Airport.
And joining us from Dublin Airport is Dan Loughrey, Aer Lingus Director of Corporate Affairs. Dan Loughrey, catering workers striking for 24 hours next Thursday, clerical workers striking for 24 hours on Friday. Surely Aer Lingus management have let this dispute get totally out of control?
Well, John, it takes two sides to reach any resolution to a dispute. We've been serious about negotiations all along on this one, and we continue to be serious about it. I think the real tragedy here today is that our customers are being disrupted and our staff are on strike totally unnecessarily. We put a very strong, a very serious position to the union committee only in the last week, which is a marked improvement on the position that had existed before that. We believe that that position should be put to the staff and that they would see the basis for a resolution there.
Now, I understand that passengers travelling on flights handled by Aer Lingus are today facing delays of around 5 hours. Surely that's unacceptable.
It is completely unacceptable from the company's point of view. This is a very competitive business. It's very difficult to make profits in it. And our customers, if they're disrupted in this way, will impact on our business into the future. We have to work extremely hard. The dispute will only be capable of being resolved through some form of dialogue. We are in negotiations. Talks have not broken down, and we need to get back to the negotiating
feeling is,
table.
however, that Aer Lingus management are not 100% behind a speedy resolution of this dispute.
Oh, we very much are. I mean, what's going to really suffer here are the customers and the business ultimately. We have put, in regard to the workers who are in dispute today, a very, very strong position. We believe that should be put to them, and we believe that there's a basis there for a resolution. We want to solve this dispute.
OK, thank you very much indeed, Dan Loughrey at Dublin Airport. Gardaí in Cork are treating as suspicious the death of a young woman in the suburb of Ballincollig last night. The woman had taken her dog for a walk and the alarm was raised when the dog returned home.
The woman's body was discovered in a wooded area close to a popular walk on the edge of the Inishmore estate in Ballincollig, a suburb of Cork City. She'd been out walking her dogs and the alarm was raised when one of the dogs returned alone. The area where the woman's body was discovered is heavily wooded. The ruins of an old building are close by and the whole area is popular with walkers. The discovery of the young woman's body has shocked local people.
There's a feeling of great sadness and shock in the community this morning with the news that's breaking presently. Words cannot really describe the feelings of the people around here. They're huddling together and chatting amongst themselves and trying to deal with the tragedy that is unfolding before them.
I mean, people are just totally shocked that it could happen in just a quiet place like here, you know, so I don't know, we're just numb, that's all.
Very popular in the summertime, but not so much in the winter. You get the odd person walking the dog there, but that's about all.
Yeah, I know the girl all right, like.
Did you?
She was a grand girl, fine. She was a beautician, I think. A fine girl, a smashing girl.
Was she well known in the area, or how much did you know?
The family are down there around the Tudden, but you see down just the west there. When we go down to the Tudden, and right there down the west there, the second or third house there.
The state pathologist, Dr. John Harbison, has visited the scene along with Senior Gardaí from Cork City. A post-mortem examination will take place later today. Pascal Sheehy, RTE News, Ballincollig, County Cork.
A Garda report on the fatal shooting of John Carthy at Abbey Lara denies reports that members of the emergency response unit involved in the siege had failed weapons tests in a training course prior to the incident. The report was published this morning by the Dáil Committee on Justice, Equality, Defence and Women's Rights. And I'm joined in studio by our
staff to exploratory talks next week. Delays continued throughout the day at Dublin Airport following this morning's 4-hour strike by clerical workers.
A not-so-perfect start to the bank holiday weekend for Aer Lingus passengers. Thousands of people were affected by this morning's work stoppage by clerical staff. Around 4,000 people didn't travel at all. Almost 20,000 passengers faced delays of up to 4.5 hours.
At this moment in time, I'd be reluctant to book with Aer Lingus again.
We're not real pleased. We got places to go, people to see, things to do.
It's being annoyed that they picked today to do it. It's not against what they're doing, and I can accept what they're doing. It's a bank holiday weekend here. People are trying to get away, and it's just, come on, you've given management the opportunity to shut the door. That's what they've done. So it's very unfair to the public, the travel public.
It's just part and parcel. We were expecting the delays, and we're just accepting. That's it.
The disruption began at 10 o'clock this morning when clerical workers, including check-in and boarding staff, walked away from their desks. They marched around the airport, led by the SIP2 brass band, to protest at what they called their disgraceful pay. They say the starting rate of £4.75 per hour, or less than £10,000 a year, is too low, and they say industrial action will continue until management addresses the issue.
The company can come to the negotiating table with a proper proposal that removes the threat of industrial action. That's the only way this can be resolved. The company facing up to its responsibilities.
These scenes could be repeated next week. Clerical staff are planning another stoppage for 24 hours on Friday, and catering staff are to begin a 24-hour stoppage on Thursday morning. But this evening there was some good news for intending passengers. The Labour Court invited all parties to exploratory talks on condition that the industrial action is called off. Management have accepted the invitation.
Well, we've always said that this has to be resolved through dialogue, and obviously we can have that dialogue under the auspices of the Labour Court. So we would be very hopeful that we'd be able to make that progress next week.
SIP2 members will decide after a meeting next Tuesday whether or not they'll attend the Labour Court.
Well, Orla Donald joins us now from Dublin Airport. Orla, what's the latest now? Things are getting back to normal, are they?
They are getting back to normal in the main airport, Brian. Now, this did affect only Aer Lingus passengers. All other passengers were unaffected. And in the main airport, the crowds have thinned out, and there don't seem to be that many people who are delayed. But I can tell you that downstairs, it's a different story. In check-in area 9, which passengers who've been here before may know is the area where domestic flights and a lot of flights to England and to Scotland are checked in, it's still pretty chaotic down there. There are very long queues. Some people have been waiting for about an hour to check in. And the biggest complaint that people have is that they haven't got any information about what's going on. They say the screens give them no information. Nobody's come around to tell them what time their flight will be leaving at, whether it's delayed, whether they're even in the right queue. I've just come from there. I spoke to a very small group of people, about 5 or 6 people, but 3 of them told me they wouldn't be flying Aer Lingus again.
Orla Donald at Dublin Airport, thank you very much indeed for that.
A Garda report on the fatal shooting of John Carthy at Abbey Lara has revealed that Mr. Carthy called to see his solicitor on 2 occasions in the 48 hours
turned up between 10 and 2 when the strike actually took place. Unfortunately, due to some of the refurbishment work at the airport, some of the signage isn't available, but even despite that, we have managers on the floor during the period of the strike today to talk to people and try and give them the information.
But Orla O'Donnell was telling us that, for example, people that she was talking to have been queuing for an hour or more. They could find nobody from Aer Lingus to tell them when their flight might be going, and the boards, the information board, which usually has that kind of information, didn't have it.
Well, that board, as I say, wasn't actually there today, which was a bit unfortunate. But in my experience, and I was there all through the day, and as I say, in the context of moving 26,000 passengers in total, and the vast majority of which are moving, the number of people who did not have information was very, very few. And as I say, we do apologise to people. This is a very regrettable situation. There will undoubtedly be situations where people are inconvenienced in this, but we did our level best to keep that to an absolute minimum.
Sorry, to be clear, the information board, people will be familiar with, I think, is the large board in the centre of the airport. That was taken away on the day of this disruption.
Yes, and obviously there is a lot of refurbishment going on in the airport, and it was unfortunate that wasn't there to supply people with the information. But as I say, it was really a handful of people in my experience that had that problem, and we did our best to try and help them out.
Well, it seems pretty appalling timing, but just generally, in our report earlier, we saw one of your customers saying that in view of the experience he had today, that he'd be very reluctant to book with Aer Lingus in the future. Are you finding that forward bookings are being affected by this? People are choosing other airlines?
Well, this is our main concern, to be honest, and we would be very concerned because any form of disruption, reliability is really the hallmark of a quality airline, and we believe we are a quality airline. We have a very loyal customer base, and we will be working very, very hard to retain people's loyalty and to try and ensure that this type of disruption does not happen in the future. But certainly it is a concern. Forward bookings are holding up well. I think people are showing perseverance with us as we work through this current dispute.
Right, and the prospect of talks next week presumably holds out some hope that further disruption might be avoided.
Very much so, and we very much gave a positive response, obviously, to the Labour Court intervention today. We're very happy to go along to exploratory talks next week. The only way of settling this dispute, in our view, is through dialogue. Disruption only hurts the business, the customers, and ultimately the staff themselves. We have, we believe, very serious and strong proposals, and we would be hopeful of making progress next week.
Dan Lockery, thank you for joining us on 6-1.
Ethnic Albanians are preparing to vote in Kosovo tomorrow in the